Imagine if someone made you feel so small, so weak, and so fragile. They made you feel inferior. They forced you to believe that you were worthless. Now this could be called bullying, but the bully here, in this scenario, is your mind, the greatest bully of them all. I'm Shruthika, a 15-year-old studying at Chennai Public School, Tirumalisai, and I am here to talk about this topic. Though this bully doesn't have a physical form, its impact is just as real as that of an actual bully. It's the voice in our head that constantly criticizes and belittles us, making us doubt our own worth and abilities. Right now, I want you all to meet a very important guest in this talk of mine. Please welcome the ghost, or the bully, Boo Lee. Get it? From now on, we will be visualizing these voices and bullies in our head as ghosts. In this image, as you can see, the ghost is seen taking away the mirror and leaving a fake image of yourself, getting you to believe that you are not good enough. It tricks your mind with a different view of yourself. So, we all had this situation called the lockdown. The lockdown was not just a physical act of isolation. It was also a lockdown for our emotions, well, at least for me, personally. During the lockdown, I lost touch with all of my friends. I even stopped talking efficiently to my own parents. I stared at those same four walls every single day and attended online classes. Well, you could say a little bit of Netflix and sleep popped in there too. But let's face it, most of us did that. It wasn't that I didn't have anyone to talk to, but the fact that I didn't actually open up to anyone. I had some serious body image issues, which made it even worse. The girl who was called a chatterbox because she spoke so much, who was loved by everyone, turned into this girl who barely even spoke. And 2 years ago, when I was 13, that felt so overwhelming. But then came a plot twist. I was going to be transferred to a different school, a whole new environment and set of people. And at that time, there was this voice in my head that went, "You? A different school? You're not going to make any friends. Look at you." We all have that voice, don't we? That cruel inner bully that tells us that we can't do things, or that someone else is going to be better at them, making us feel as if we're in our nightmares. But that's the thing, they're nightmares. They're not real. They are imaginary creations of our mind. And in my case, this bully paved the way for overthinking, something that we humans are very much talented at, though this isn't the actual representation of overthinking in real life. Now, I have a question for you. What goes on in your mind when you look into a mirror? Why do I look like this? Why can't I look like them? Why me? That reckless voice that makes us feel uncomfortable in our own skins. Some of us have been scarred to the point where we can't even look into the mirror or do things that we once loved just because of this voice. Let me tell you one thing. Fat and skinny are just words. It's a society that made them an insult. But then, at the end of the night, we sweep it all under the rug as if it never even existed. We don't give mental health the importance that it deserves, the importance that we deserve. But now, imagine all of those words you told yourself were said to you by someone else. You might react in two different ways. One could be pitying yourself, blaming yourself for each and every comment that you get. What did I ever do to deserve this? The second one could be, who is this person and how do they have the nerve to talk about me like that? You know what? I'm going to go and give that person a piece of my mind and I'll make sure it's worth it. You can have different reactions. But then, when we hear those same words from ourselves, in this case, our inner bullies, why doesn't it feel wrong? It hurts the same way, doesn't it? But why doesn't it matter the same? I had this habit of thinking about those things that happened so long ago and going, I could have done this better. Why did I do that? It's like that embarrassing thing you did 2 or 3 years ago that can even wake you up in the middle of the night. It could be so simple, but the voice enters the chat again, toppling the entire story. There's always that question, what would they think? So with the battle of voices, I stepped into my new school, and guess what happened? I made friends. I found some amazing people and had wonderful experiences that I can cherish forevermore. Speaking, which I once didn't do, has now become one of my greatest hobbies. We're not just talking about chit-chatting and talking with your friends. Here, we're talking about the type of speaking where you're on a stage in front of people, being passionate about every single word. Now, I have also mended my relationships with my parents and now doing much better. I have evolved into a pretty good speaker, I would say. I have won debates, attended multiple events, even traveling abroad and winning medals at a global level. The smallest things can cause the biggest havoc on our mind. Because the truth is, it can come in all different forms, even as small whispers. The opinions we have of ourselves are so delicate, and when these whispers start piling up together to form this infuriating band that never stops playing in our head, serious issues such as anxiety and depression can arise. But when you take a look at it differently, you have the control over this voice. Your mind is the microphone to this band, and you choose what you want to say and when you want to tone it down. To these ghosts and bullies, we are just a form of entertainment. A small scribble in our head can turn into a complete game of basketball for them. But then at the end, who's affected? It's us. I have another question for you. How many of you rehearse a conversation in your head before actually going and talking to that person, just so you don't mess anything up or embarrass yourselves? Well, most of the time I do. I really think about the fact that when we were children, we didn't even know what social anxiety was. Even today, I see small kids doing and talking whatever they want, but there I am, standing in scrutiny of myself. There's this common myth. If you are socially anxious, you're shy. You don't talk to anyone, you don't take part in events, and you just keep to yourselves. But that is not entirely true. Just because someone is socially anxious does not mean that they are shy. Here's the main difference. Shyness is a quality that people can overcome, and it generally pops up in new surroundings. The same shy person can be so talkative in their own circles. Shy people aren't exactly afraid of talking to new people. They just need some time. On the other hand, social anxiety is a type of anxiety where you have a fear of being judged or embarrassed. We think so much about what the other person would think of us, about how our reputation would be affected, about how they would interpret us. I had someone ask me if I was collecting information because I wasn't really speaking in a conversation. I've heard a lot of people say this. It's not that I don't want to talk, it's just I don't have anything to say. Oh yeah, I'm working for the secret spy society. Can't really spill much, you know? I mean, that is what it would have looked like. I don't blame them. Just me sitting there without uttering a word, listening to their conversation as if I'm gathering information. Here are two ways that generally work for me when I want to join a conversation. Asking a question about the topic, or talking about a similar experience that you had. Try to have that mutual understanding of talking and listening. For me, I had a positive environment, which has definitely contributed to me breaking out of my shell. I remember last year, I heard an announcement that the student council elections were going to take place, and I wanted to give it a try, and I did, which is something that I never would have done before. There was still that voice in my head that went, "You, standing for the post of editorial secretary? That is impossible. Look at you. Do you seriously think you're going to get votes? You're a new student." But still, with the support and encouragement of my friends and family, I went for it. And I was informed that we were to give a speech on why we were to be elected. And I remember feeling so anxious before my speech. But then I actually gave it, and it went really well. I had many people come up to me and say that I spoke really well, and that they would vote for me. And that is when I realized, the more voices you have on the outside, the less voices you have inside of you. But I also know that the world isn't all kindness and smiles. It does have some really heartbreaking cruelty out there. You are going to find some wonderful people on your journey, but also people who will try to drag you down. Actual bullies, you could say. Their words might even team up with your bully, making it even worse. Last year, I was part of this school drama that happened in my mother tongue, and I got one of the main leads, and I was so excited. But during the practice sessions, I heard a lot of comments saying that I wasn't pronouncing my lines well enough, that I wasn't performing well enough. And when I heard that, all of the excitement and joy that I had felt when I got the role just disappeared. Their words teamed up with my bully, making me question my ability to do justice for the role. But still, I put in effort and practiced, not just to prove them wrong, but also to prove to myself that I was worth of the role. And on the big day, on stage, I performed, without having anyone else voice out my lines for me. And till date, that is one of the most memorable events of my life. So what did I learn? I realized that this bully also has the potential to act as a friend at times. It can act as our ally. It helps toughen us up for the outside world, so that when someone turns on us with even more harsh words, we know how to brush them off and stay fearless. It also has the potential to act as a critic, pointing out each and every mistake that we make, making sure that we don't commit them again, because now we have the motivation to prove it wrong. Okay, let's change the topic a bit. Let's say you are on your phone, on Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media website, and you are craving for cookies. I mean, who doesn't love them? So you search cookies up, you look at different recipes, different shops, and view tempting images of cookies. And then, the next day, when you open up the app, cookies all over your feed. This is the same thing that happens in our minds. Even one negative thought can cause so many other thoughts and wreck our mind. But imagine if it was a positive thought, something that popped up all around our mind. For me, I had a positive environment, but I'm sure most of us don't have it the same, and that can make those voices even worse. So here are some ways to get some positivity in our lives. The first one is meditation. I know this is very cliche, and being honest, even I don't do this. I'm sure most of you would go, me, sitting in one place, focusing on my breathing, I'll pass. But when you actually give it a try, it does work. So just give it a try, or if not, it's fine. We'll find something else. Second, journaling. Journaling doesn't just have to be writing in a notebook about how your day went. Dear diary, I did this, I did that. The day was good, the day was bad. It's just about you. It could be a poem, a song, or plain old journaling, or even just complete chaos, scribbles on a paper. But as long as it makes you feel better, go for it. You do you. Third, talking. Talk to someone who you trust, someone who you can confide in. It could be a teacher, a friend, a sibling, a parent, or even someone more, a therapist, because sometimes we all do need a little bit of help. We are going to have hundreds of steps to take on our journey, but we all focus on that last step. What if I tremble and fall? What if nothing works out? But in reality, we might even still be on the floor. We think about the past and the future, what could have been and what could be. All of those steps that we once took and the steps that we are going to take, but never ponder about the fact that we are taking a step currently. Overthinking is thinking about that last step and coming up with imaginary scenarios that might only even happen in your wildest dreams. Past events and experiences are over. We can't do anything to change them now. The only thing we can do is choose what we are going to do next. I mean, go ahead, as long as you have a time-traveling machine. But in reality, there are no undo and redo buttons here. We should have the control over our mind, not the other way around. In reality, people are too engrossed in their own lives to even think about what the other person is doing. But still, like how I said, there's always that question, what would they think? But in reality, what actually matters is what you think. So there's that final question, how do we deal with this bully? Over time, I found two ways. The first one is befriending the bully. Go on trips with it, make it your ally, like how I said. Let it toughen you up for the outside world and let it act as your critic. The second one is, when there's a problem or a cause, what do people do? They rise up and voice their opinions out. They stand up against it, which is exactly what we are going to do here. Stand up against the bully. Bully the bully. The only case where bullying is actually acceptable. When that voice challenges you, make sure that you prove it wrong. Sometimes it won't work out at the end, but at least you tried. That is so much better than giving up all at once. So, there is this very popular dialogue. 3 words, very simple, but a deep meaning. It's from an animated movie, in fact. Just keep swimming. We think about the shore that we have to swim to, but never the water that we're currently in. And the bitter truth is, no matter how much we try, it is nearly impossible to completely get rid of these voices or ghosts or bullies in our mind. But the thing we can do is tone them down. When we go underwater, what happens? Everything goes silent, doesn't it? It's all muffled. So just like that, muffle those voices in your head. But when will you be able to muffle them? Only when you dare to swim. So just keep swimming. Focus on the water that you're in and let all of the negativity drown themselves in the water. Just keep swimming and dare to swim, because one day you are going to make it to the shore. Thank you.